There comes a moment in your life when heaven touches earth, when the ordinary version of you dies, and the chosen version of you is born. It is not a moment that can be manufactured by man, nor is it something that can be given by the applause of the crowd. It is a divine shift, an encounter that marks you forever. When God calls you and sets you apart, something powerful happens. He begins to release certain things from your life that were once binding you. Chains you didn't even know you carried start falling off. We often think of being chosen as simply a blessing, but it is also a cleansing. It is a separation from everything that was holding you back from walking into your true purpose. Before we dive deep into these 9 things, I want to ask you to take a moment and subscribe to this channel, because every message here is designed to speak directly into your destiny. And if this word has reached you at the exact time you needed it most, I want you to type 1111 in the comments section as a prophetic sign that divine blessings are aligning for you. Now, let us walk together into the mystery of what God releases from you the moment you become His chosen one. 1. The weight of guilt. The first thing God releases from you is guilt. Many people live their entire lives walking under the crushing weight of shame from their past. They smile in public, but cry in private. They appear strong, yet inside they replay every mistake, every wrong decision, and every failure like a broken record. Guilt becomes a prison of the mind. It chains your future to your past and makes you feel like you are unworthy of love, unworthy of success, and unworthy of forgiveness. But when you are chosen, everything changes. God steps in and says, "Your past does not define your future." He doesn't just cover up your mistakes. He wipes the slate clean entirely. He declares that you are a new creation, and in that declaration comes freedom. That guilt that once haunted your nights and weighed down your mornings suddenly loses its power. You no longer walk with your head down because the burden has been lifted. You realize that the mistakes of yesterday were only lessons to prepare you for the greatness of tomorrow. God does not hold your failures against you, so why should you hold them against yourself? Being chosen means you are released from the torment of guilt, and instead of constantly reliving your shame, you begin to live in gratitude for a God who redeems and restores. The release of guilt is the first sign of true freedom. You feel lighter, your spirit brighter, and your hope renewed. For the chosen, guilt no longer has authority over their lives, and that is the beginning of transformation. 2. The spirit of fear. Fear is one of the greatest prisons humanity lives in, and it is one of the biggest tools the enemy uses to cripple destinies. Fear is not always loud. It often whispers in your ear, convincing you not to try, not to dream, not to step forward. Fear keeps people hiding in the shadows of their own potential. It convinces you that you are too weak, too unqualified, or too broken to walk into the life God has called you to. But when God chooses you, fear loses its hold. Scripture tells us that God has not given His chosen ones a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. That means courage is no longer something you have to beg for. It is something deposited into your spirit the moment you are chosen. Suddenly, you find yourself doing things you never imagined. You speak where you once kept silent. You step into rooms that used to intimidate you. You face challenges that once made you retreat. People around you begin to wonder, where did this boldness come from? It is not arrogance. It is divine courage. Fear is replaced by an unshakable confidence, not in yourself, but in the God who walks with you. This is why chosen ones accomplish what others only dream of. They are not driven by fear, but carried by faith. Fear may try to knock at your door, but when you are chosen, it finds no place to settle. Courage becomes your language, boldness becomes your walk, and victory becomes your testimony. 3. The desire to fit in. Before you are chosen, life is often spent trying to blend in. You want to be accepted, liked, and approved by others. You may find yourself changing your voice, your style, your values, just to belong to circles that were never meant for you. That need for approval becomes a silent chain, keeping you from becoming who you truly are. But the moment God marks you as chosen, something shifts. He releases you from the exhausting cycle of trying to fit in. You begin to see that not every crowd was meant for you, not every friendship was destined to last, and not every table deserves your presence. At first, this release can feel painful. You may notice friends pulling away, invitations stopping, and people who once praised you now ignoring you. But as the dust settles, you realize that this was not rejection. It was divine protection. God removes the desire to fit into small spaces because He has prepared a unique and sacred lane for you. Chosen ones eventually understand that their assignment is unlike anyone else's. You were not born to blend in with the crowd. You were born to stand out, to shine, to carry a message and a purpose that only you can deliver. The release from the need to fit in is what allows you to embrace authenticity. It frees you to live boldly as yourself, without apology and without compromise. People may not understand it, and some may even criticize it, but chosen ones no longer live for applause. They live for purpose. 4. The curse of limitation. Limitations are like invisible barriers that make people believe they can only go so far in life. Many live under ceilings they cannot see but constantly feel. They try to rise, but something keeps pulling them back. They dream, but their vision is clouded by doubt. They plan, but opportunities seem blocked. This is what it means to live under the curse of limitation. But chosen ones quickly notice a divine shift. Doors that were once closed begin to open in unusual ways. What was impossible yesterday suddenly becomes possible today. This is not because of their own strength, but because God Himself has released them from limitation. He begins to expand their vision, enlarging their capacity to see what once seemed unimaginable. Ideas start flowing, resources start showing up, and opportunities that seemed locked suddenly swing wide open. It is as though God Himself removes the ceilings and breaks down the walls. Chosen ones stop thinking small because their spirit has been expanded to the size of their calling. They no longer limit themselves by what they see in the natural. They believe in what God has spoken in the spiritual. The release from limitation is what transforms ordinary men and women into leaders, innovators, and world changers. When God lifts the curse of limitation, you no longer see impossibility, you see opportunity. You no longer think about survival, you think about legacy. You no longer count your resources, you count on God's unlimited supply. For the chosen, there are no limits, only divine assignments waiting to be fulfilled. 5. The voice of condemnation. The enemy is clever. He doesn't always attack with visible weapons. Instead, he whispers lies in the quiet moments when you are most vulnerable. He tells you that you are not good enough, that you are unqualified, that you will never make it, that your past disqualifies your future. These voices of condemnation act like invisible chains. They weigh you down, break your confidence, and poison your spirit. But when you are chosen, God Himself silences those voices. He releases you from condemnation and replaces the lies with truth. Instead of hearing you are worthless, you begin to hear you are loved. Instead of believing you will fail, you hear the whisper of the Spirit saying, "You are capable. You are mine." That shift is life-changing. Suddenly your inner dialogue transforms from defeat to victory. You walk differently, not because the battles disappear, but because you carry an inner assurance that cannot be shaken. Condemnation loses its grip, and in its place rises confidence, not in human ability, but in divine identity. Chosen ones understand that the only voice that matters is the voice of God, and His voice always speaks truth, love, and purpose. When condemnation is broken, you no longer see yourself as the world labels you, you see yourself as heaven defines you. You no longer shrink back when challenges arise, because you know your worth is not tied to perfection, it is tied to purpose. And when God declares you free, no lie from the enemy can ever chain you again. 6. The chains of poverty mentality. Poverty is deeper than a lack of money. It is a mindset that keeps people living small, fearful, and restricted lives. It convinces you that you are not worthy of abundance, that you must settle for crumbs, that greatness is for others but not for you. This mentality causes people to sabotage opportunities, reject blessings, and live beneath their potential. But when God chooses you, He does not leave you chained to that way of thinking. He releases you from the poverty mindset and opens your eyes to see yourself differently. Suddenly, you realize that abundance is not selfish, it is your divine inheritance. You understand that wealth is not just material, it is spiritual, mental, and emotional. Being chosen means you are called to think bigger, live greater, and expect more. This transformation doesn't just affect your finances, it affects your entire destiny. You stop saying, "I can't," and begin to declare, "With God I can." You stop seeing lack as permanent and start seeing it as temporary. You develop habits that align with growth instead of defeat. Chosen ones rise because they no longer think like victims, they think like visionaries. The chains of poverty mentality are broken, and in their place comes a new mindset, one of expansion, creation, and abundance. God does not want His chosen ones to merely survive, He calls them to thrive. And once that shift happens in your spirit, your external world begins to reflect the abundance that has already taken root within you. 7. Toxic attachments. One of the most painful releases chosen ones experience is the removal of toxic attachments. These can be relationships, friendships, or environments that seem comfortable but are quietly draining the life out of you. Sometimes you don't realize how much people are holding you back until God begins to separate you from them. Suddenly, friends stop calling, opportunities vanish, or doors that once looked promising begin to shut. At first it feels like rejection. You wonder why people you loved walked away or why things you wanted so badly slipped through your fingers. But in truth, this is not loss. It is divine release. God removes toxic attachments not to hurt you, but to protect you. He clears the space around you so that the right people, opportunities, and energy can flow into your life. Toxic attachments are like weeds in a garden. They choke out the life of your purpose. But once God removes them, your spirit has room to grow. Chosen ones eventually realize that every person cannot go with them into their destiny. Some people were only meant for a season, not a lifetime. Some connections were assignments of distraction, not partnerships of purpose. When God releases you from toxic attachments, He is preparing you for divine alignment. You begin to attract people who fuel your calling instead of draining it. You walk lighter, freer, and stronger because you are no longer carrying the weight of relationships that were never meant to last. This release may be painful, but it is necessary for your elevation. 8. The spirit of doubt. Doubt is subtle but powerful. It is the quiet voice that asks, "What if it doesn't work? What if you fail? What if you are not really called?" Doubt doesn't just question circumstances, it questions your identity and your purpose. It paralyzes faith and keeps many from stepping into the fullness of their destiny. But when God chooses you, He plants something deeper than doubt, an unshakable knowing. This doesn't mean chosen ones never struggle with questions, but it means that underneath the questions their faith remains anchored. Doubt that once crippled their spirit is replaced with trust. You begin to walk with a confidence that even when you cannot see the full picture, you know the one who called you will never fail you. That is why chosen ones step boldly where others hesitate. They move forward even in the dark, because they know the light of God goes before them. This release from doubt is what makes chosen ones unstoppable. They are no longer tossed around by every challenge or setback. They stand firm, knowing that their journey is guided by divine hands. Faith becomes their fuel, and trust becomes their anchor. Doubt may still whisper, but it can no longer dominate. The chosen no longer live in what if, they live in even if. Even if storms come, God is with me. Even if challenges arise, I will overcome. Even if I don't understand, I still trust. That unshakable faith is what sets them apart and propels them into destiny. 9. The power of the enemy over you. Finally, the most powerful release of all, God removes the grip of the enemy from your life. Many people live under constant spiritual attack, feeling like they can never move forward because something unseen is always pushing them back. But when you are chosen, God puts a divine shield over your life. The enemy may still form weapons, but they will not prosper. Attacks may come, but they will not succeed. Darkness may surround you, but it cannot destroy you. This is because heaven itself fights on behalf of the chosen. Angels are assigned to guard your path, and divine favor becomes your covering. What the enemy meant for harm, God turns into good. Enemies rise against you, but they end up destroying themselves trying to destroy you, because the hand of God is upon you. The chosen walk in a kind of protection that cannot be explained by logic. It is supernatural. This doesn't mean life becomes free of battles. It means the outcome of every battle is already guaranteed. Victory is your inheritance. The chosen are released from the power of the enemy because they belong to a kingdom greater than any darkness. Once God marks you, no curse, no witchcraft, no scheme of hell can undo his plan for your life. You walk with authority, knowing that you are untouchable in the hands of God. That is why chosen ones often rise even after every attempt to bring them down. They are shielded, protected, and sustained by divine power. And so, beloved, these are the 9 things God immediately releases from your life when he calls you to be a chosen one. If you felt any of these shifts happening in your own life, know this: you are not losing, you are being released. God is positioning you for a destiny greater than you can imagine. This is the Zillion Mind channel. Like the video, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more spiritual awakening videos. If this video got you at the time you most needed, type 1111 in the comment section. Thank you for watching.